Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Ys 1. In the last part we reached the Solomon Shrine and fought off our first boss fight in the first floor of it, and now we're entering the deeper levels. Now, similarly to what you can do just in the plains at this point, there's a couple things you can get done here in any order you want, but I'm going to be heading to the deeper floors first in order to grab some items we can find around here. We can't get too much deeper than this at the moment for reasons, but you might as well come over here because you can also find things like the prison key, which allows you to do things on the floor above us anyway. So the shrine is going to be a shining example of how we're going to be handling a lot of the game moving forward, where we enter a floor and we go through it, and if there's new enemies there, by the time we leave, I then do a jump cut and grind as many of those enemies as I need to fill out their bestiary facts. There are some locked chests around here, but don't worry about them too much for now. Just remember where they are in case you've seen one. In fact, you actually could find one back on the first real floor where we fought the boss fight last time. I just didn't go for it because I knew, well, like, I can't get that yet. Just gotta find my way around. We'll remember this place for later. We can't really do anything on the third basement floor or beyond in the shrine at this point. It's the first two basement floors or so you really need to focus on for right now. Now, we haven't really seen a lot of it up to this point, but there's going to be a lot of times you're just going to see me pause for a second while moving, and this is usually one of two things. Either something in my room grabbed my attention, like my cat was meowing at me, or I saw a DM on Discord. Or that's me pausing to look at my notes, like I mentioned earlier, or my maps, just because I usually get a little confused on some of the floors in this game, because even compared to other games of this type, it's very easy to get confused which dungeon floor you're on in some cases, because a lot of the tile sets look so similar. This is one of those games you really just need to kind of feel out your way around and either look at maps or make your own maps along the way. And there's a treasure box key. That is not a one-use item. We can now open up any locked treasure chest, including the one we even already saw on this very floor, as soon as I stop going to the exact dead end every time I go up there for some reason. In general, the bump combat-based Ys games are good enough about giving you visual set pieces so you don't get too lost in the larger dungeons. But this being Ys 1, that's not exactly the case. Also, there's exactly one other Ys game where navigating dungeons is really rough. That's because it also has one of the largest dungeons in the series. And I believe in particular I'm talking about the PC Engine version of Ys 4. Because Dawn of Ys might be my second favorite version of Ys 4, but ooh, that endgame is, So at this point, I have gone on my way to get the Bullners and the Looters stats all filled out on this floor, because even though we'll be back to this floor later on, I figured I might as well get it done now. So in the locked chest on the previous floor, we got the silver bell, so we can now take that back to Zepik Village for a reward there. But since we got the prison key along the way as well, we actually want to go open up the prison cells here on the first basement floor of the shrine. There are two cells. One has plot progress, the other just has another looter. There's also these Unoses around here that I'm going to take a moment to grind out in a moment, just to get them out of the way as well, because I'm basically never exploring this floor in depth again throughout the rest of the LP. Do want to make sure you make your way down here, though, because there is one treasure chest on this floor that contains the necklace that is only for selling to Pim for some extra gold. Might as well grab it, don't need it, but you might as well, you know? As for the Unoses, by the way, the best place to grind them is actually this spot of 2 right here. If you just off-screen them and come back, they usually respawn pretty quickly, plus there's another one over there. I do want to at least try to know the best place to grind out an enemy when you see one. Oh, hello there. Who are you? Adol introduced himself and explained his reason for coming to the shrine. My name is Fina. It feels like I've been locked down here for my entire life. I remember it was a man in a black cape who put me here. He's a terrible man who seems to control the very movements of the monsters. It's dangerous here. You should forget about me. Please, hurry. Get away from here while you can. We're gonna take you with us instead. How about that? You're going to help me? You're saying I can leave this place? Adol. Thank you so very much. Adol swore to Fina that he would lead her to a safe place. But also, while you're here, make sure to grab the Mask of Eyes. It'll be here when you come back later, but you might as well grab it now, you know? The man in the black cape put that mask in here with me. Perhaps it could be of some use to you? Maybe, but I recommend you save here, because you might notice there's a new health bar at the bottom of the screen. That's Fina's. If she dies, game over. So you might as well save. There's not many enemies in your path. There's only really the Unoses on this floor alongside a couple of looters. I think like a Balner along the way as well, and then the soldiers outside the shrine, because you just need to get her to Zepik Village. But you should be careful all the same, because her health can drain pretty quickly. With that said, I am going to show off 3 things you can do with her while she's following us. 2 of them are essentially variations on the same thing and are, well, it's one of the biggest instances of this game being made in the 80s that you can see. The other is a little bit tougher to do, though, and the best way to do them is to actually save right here in this particular corner. The first thing we want to do is push Fina against the wall here to the west, and then all the way to the north. It's a dead end. Adol, it's a bit tight back here, don't you think? And that adds her 3 measurements to the screen. That doesn't sit right with me. The next thing we're going to do is actually reload and then do that again, but with the Mask of Eyes on, because all 3 of the things we're doing here are actively for achievements, and if you're trying to get all the achievements in the game, you might as well know how to do these. For the most part, this is technically an all-achievement run. The only thing I'm not doing in this LP is beating the game on Nightmare mode or beating the Time Attack mode. It's a dead end. Adol, you're kind of scaring me right now. So doing that with the Mask of Eyes gives you the same, a different achievement, but you get the same result. You just get to see 3 measurements. The next one's the hardest thing to do. You need to have Fina level up, because if she walks into enemies like you do, she can bump combat them. But she doesn't have a lot of strength. A single enemy is all it takes for her to level up, though, and that's the achievement here, is leveling her up. Best thing to do here is actually to just use a mirror, in the case you bought one back at Pim in Minea, and just leading her into an enemy like this in a circle until it dies. You might want to potentially use one of the enemies outside of the area, considering those are weaker in terms of their defenses from memory. But while you're in here, it is faster, I guess, on top of the fact that it's easier to spawn enemies in the more crowded or the more tight corridors. That even boosts her maximum health, and I think you can technically do that over and over again to get her to a level beyond what you should really theoretically do. But there's no real reason to do this. There's also a similar achievement in Ys 2 that I'll talk about when we eventually do that game. I'm generally a big fan of little hidden interactions like that, but the first 2 just don't feel right to me, given the modern day I play this in, but at the same time, this is a game that got released in '88, and the player base back then was a little bit different than it is nowadays and all that jazz. But playing this for the first time in the year of our Lord 2023 definitely felt a little... Yeah, I guess probably should talk about that. Ys is a series I've largely been aware of for a lot of my life, dating back to early-ish YouTube even, when I watched, I believe, Deceased Crab play Ys 3. But I didn't actively play the games myself outside of Ys 3, and I think emulating Oath and Pelgana and Arkham to Peachum a little bit here and there on my early PSP emulating days. Until last year after I finished catching up with Trails. Because I needed more Falcom. In that lock chest, by the way, we get ourselves the Shield Ring, one of the best accessories in the game and our first actual accessory. That outwardly reduces all the damage you intake by 50% no matter what the actual number itself would have been. And now we're just gonna slowly kite Fina over to Zempic. She's kind of slow, but it's a pretty short way all the same. Oh my. I'm alright, Adol. I'm just tired, that's all. Don't worry about me. I'm absolutely worried. Fina lapsed into unconsciousness. Adol felt her forehead and confirmed that she had a fever. Luckily, Jaba's house was very close. Adol gently lifted Fina over his shoulder and promptly carried her to Jaba's.
She's sleeping well. The medicine should help. Had a good night's rest, and she should be fine by morning. Still, no matter how you look at it, it's a very strange story. The sacred inner sanctum, sealed under the shrine for so long, becoming home to monsters. And a girl imprisoned there, no less. So much of this simply doesn't add up.
Agreed.
Don't you worry, I'll take good care of her. She'll be up and about soon enough, good as new.
Just make sure you actually talk to Fina over here as well. The medicine seemed to have kicked in, Fina's breathing was steady, and her fever had subsided. Because only if you talk to her here, I believe, is the first opportunity you can have to actually add her to your notebook. Almost there with the characters, we only have 3 more to go, and we're not seeing some of them until near the end of the game anyway. Now let's go give the silver bell to the mayor.
Oh my, it's the silver bell. Was it the thieves? Were they the ones you retrieved it from? What's that? The thieves didn't have it? It was beneath the old shrine? I'm confused. Why in the world would it have been there? Well, it doesn't really matter. The important thing is it's been returned. We're safe again. Thank you so much, adventurer. As a token of my appreciation, I give you this ring. Wear it well.
And for that, we get the other really good accessory in the game, although they're all pretty much good in this game, the Power Ring.
It's a family heirloom with mystical properties. I believe it'll prove very useful to you.
The Power Ring is the opposite of the Shield Ring. It'll outright double any damage you output into enemies. And I think that includes most boss fights, but there's some cases it just doesn't feel quite like that, so the Shield Ring is overall the better tool for boss fights, I tend to find. So we're done in Zepik Village for now. We have a couple of other notes of business we can do across the plains now that we have our extra levels and equipment and all that jazz. The first thing we want to do is actually go grab a chest you theoretically could have gotten earlier in the plains, but now feels like the better opportunity to because we're on our way back towards Minea anyway, because we want to go talk to Sarah now that we've seen a little bit more of the plot, just for some extra exposition and potential hints towards where to go next. Sarah, in general, is a very good person to talk to throughout the majority of the game for a hint on where to go next. Although, in general, the NPCs do a pretty good job in this game of communicating places you can do and things you can't see. This here is the Rhoda tree. There are 2 across the plains, but we can't really interact with them at the moment. There's nothing we can do there. Here, though, we have a piece of paper. I think if you actually try to use it, it says that it's written in an unusual script, so you can't exactly easily read it. Yeah, actually, several lines of an unreadable language written on it. There we go. So we'll just have to keep that in mind for later. I forget how the game hints to you can get that and where to use it. I think you just need to talk to a certain NPC at a certain point in time later down the line, but either way, it's important to have now just so you don't have to backtrack that way for it later. Although, at the same time, you can backtrack for it later anyway because you're going to be going back towards that Rhoda tree anyway. So we can sell the necklace we got back in the shrine for 550 gold, and now that we have all this excess gold, we can go get ourselves some armor. And I do mean armor. There is a new sword you can buy at this point, but I actually recommend holding off on that for a couple reasons. How fare thee, swordsman? Have you found any of the Books of Ease? What's that? A girl imprisoned beneath the mountain shrine? It can't be. Swordsman, our time grows short. Please find the Book of Ease locked within that shrine. I'll explain more afterward. Alright. We want to buy the next actual armor. In particular, with the amount I have, I get the reflex armor, which is really strong for this point in the game. If you go grind some extra gold, I would actually recommend buying the shield, but you really do not want to buy the next sword, because there's actually a couple of ways you can get the next sword. You can outright buy it. That, of course, means you might not be able to get the nearest armor or shield upgrade unless you do a lot of grinding. There's one you can find in a chest down the line, which I could recommend waiting for in some regards, but it's not really worth the time investment you would be wasting in that regard. Or, in any of the versions of the game that have Barbato Port in them, like the version I'm playing here, there is a side quest we can do down here that'll get us that sword anyway. So, let's head down here, very quick trip down, and take care of that. Also, we should go check in with the doctor, because we haven't seen him since part 1 or 2.
Are you sure about this? If they're available, the militia will gladly escort you back to Zepik Village.
No need to worry, I can make it back on my own. First and foremost, I need to go and comfort my wife.
Alright then, I won't argue. I just wish I could be of more assistance. I'm afraid I simply have no treatment for chronic sleepwalking.
Think nothing of it. I appreciate everything you've done, Dr. Bluto. Well then, if you'll excuse me. Oh my, pardon me.
You have a portrait, you're important. Hello, Adol. How is everything? What, that fellow just now? That was Luta from Zepik Village. He comes around often-ish, mostly at random. He's a chronic sleepwalker. One of the militia members found him staggering about in the plains nearby.
He's such a young fellow, yet he's already taken a wife. It's hard to believe. With him disappearing all the time, though, she must be a nervous wreck. I hope he makes it back home safe and sound.
Ah, you're going out again? Take care, Adol.
So that technically is triggered by talking to his wife back at Zepik Village. This is why I say there's a couple things you can do in a couple different orders in the game. As long as you get it all done, though, you'll be fine. Well now, if it isn't Adol. So what's the story? Learn anything out there? What's wrong? You look positively drained. Did something happen to you? Adol told Slav about the monsters he'd been fighting and the events leading up to these battles. Wow, it's like some kind of fairy tale. First the storm wall, now this. Are we in a magical fantasy land built for someone's amusement?
You know too much!
Either way. You got a heaping helping of destiny on your plate, Adol. Eat up, I say. Actually, will you follow me for a moment? And now we walk, agonizingly slowly, for an upgrade. You can't speed this up. I'm not walking slowly just to make fun of the situation. This is how fast you go automatically. Technically speaking, earlier versions of Ease 1 actively had a speed function you could do to put the game into a slight turbo state, which I guess would technically help here if this side quest existed there, but it doesn't. So, Although, actually, on that note, I should note, an option I haven't talked about yet, because I believe I talked about the display differences between like 4x3 and 30x17 for the PSP version's display. You can also select between a couple of different soundtracks for Ease 1 in the PC version of the game. I think it's the Chronicles version, the complete version, and then like some of the old PC 88 type musics, which still all sound pretty good. This is my favorite version of the soundtrack on the whole, though, because I just like the instrumentation for it. Here, take this sword with you. And thus we get the Talwar completely for free. I found it while patrolling at Whitehorn Beach 6 months ago. Probably from a trade ship capsized by the storm wall, which means they won't miss it, so don't feel bad. I think it came from one of the countries in the east. The curved blade gives it a distinctive feel. I think you'll make good use of it. Hope it comes in handy fighting all those monsters. It's weird, you know? Seeing that determined look in your eyes, I almost want to go with you. Well, I'll see you later, man. If you need anything, don't you hesitate to swing by. Notably, getting this Talwar here in Barbados port for free is another achievement within the game on any of the systems that actually have achievements for this. Yeah, like the only achievements I actually haven't gotten for the game are Time Attack, which is all the bosses in a row. It's effectively a boss rush with this game's boss design, which is troublesome at the least at points. Not really worth my time. And beating the game on Nightmare mode. The difficulty modes in this game are pretty straightforward. I believe the brass tacks of it is enemies do more damage and have less health, and you do less damage and have less health. On top of the fact I think experience yields from enemies are also slightly adjusted. So right now, we're actually back in the plains north of Minea, passing by the Picard we fought earlier. Because even though we saw Luta, they mentioned he probably should have gotten an aid to go back to Zepik Village for good reason. He's gotten himself lost over here on this screen in this little bit of a maze between the rocks. Just listen out and you can hopefully find him eventually. Thank you so much. I don't know who you are, but you really did save my life. Wait a moment. I believe I saw you at the Barbados Clinic, did I not? Please, pardon my awful manners. My name is Luta Gemma from Zepik Village. Adol gave his name and explained that Luta's wife was quite concerned about him. I see, so I've made her worry again. Damn my sound sleeping! Why does nothing wake me when I sleepwalk? I've had this problem for 6 months, ever since the Stormwall appeared. And look at that, once again, I wound up in the middle of nowhere trying to get back home. Which way is Zepik Village, or would you be able to escort me there perchance? Adol agreed to escort Luta Gemma back to Zepik Village. Oh, my dearest Luta! I'm so sorry for causing such a fuss. I thought for sure the monsters had eaten your face off. I was so very worried. Your imagination runs wild, my dear, almost scarily so, but I'm alright. This is Adol. He rescued me from the brink of certain demise. Did he now? Thank you, lad. How can I ever repay you for what you've done? Adol, if you'll please excuse us, we have some, business to attend to. I am in your debt, my friend. 1,000 thanks for saving my life. I don't like how business was in quotes there. I avoid my wife greatly and am deeply ashamed. I do wonder, though, if there's some deeper reason behind my bouts of sleepwalking. In my dreams, I always hear a strange voice calling to me. It's the voice of a young girl, though I can never ascertain where she is. Yet always I feel obligated to respond and seek her out. So I wander, both in my dream and in reality. I swear, what is Luta thinking? How can he say not to worry when he knows he'll sleepwalk again? I may need to tie him to the bed tonight and leave him that way this time. And I officially think I might know too much. I gotta go. So, our next destination now is to basically head back to the shrine and get the Book of Ease that's supposedly there that Sarah wants us to get. But with that, I'm gonna need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 5, we're gonna go do just that and see what happens after the fact. See you guys then.